Now tonight we're going to cover the basic layout of how Pages functions. Let's go up to Spotlight, which is top right corner of your Mac screen, your desktop. I'm going to type in the word Pages, click Enter. It's going to open the program for us. Now Pages is laid out into two separate areas, word processing and page layout. Now word processing is going to be similar to Microsoft Word if you're not familiar with the Mac, but if you are familiar with the Mac and you use Pages frequently, then you know that this is a document creation area. Now the page layout is going to give you the options as though you have a print shop built in. So, it kind of gives you the functionality of both a word processor and a print shop program, which is kind of nice for those people who want to be more creative. We're going to focus on the actual word processing section tonight. Let's go ahead and go to our templates here. You'll see some letters, things like that. I'm going to go to blank, and we are going to select the blank and double click on it. Now once you get into Pages, you're going to see that Pages has a layout here. It's the gray bar. Now we don't call this the menu because the menu bar is actually at the top of the screen where my cursor is right now. And that's where you find the file and the edit and the inserts and the formats. Where the toolbar is actually where you're going to be able to manipulate the document as you create it. So I'm going to create some text just to get us started. If I could type, that'd be great. Excited about helping you understand more about Pages. Oh, made a mistake there. I'll go Pages. Now, the objective of today's evening is just to kind of give you the full layout of it and just understand where your tools are. And also a quick little snippet of how you can format and the power of Pages. So now that I've written some text, I'm going to show you up here. I'm going to highlight my text. Now when you go to View over here, start from the left and go to the right, page thumbnail is where I usually end up showing, but you can say, show layout. As you can see, the lines now show you where the header is, the body of the text, and also where the footer is, right down here. Now if you're someone who likes to see how many pages you're working on at a time, as I am, I go to page thumbnails. This gives me the option to see my pages as I add them. So if I were to go to like section, I'd go to blank and enter a new section right underneath my first section. Again, keeping the same layout that I had before with the header, the body, and the footer. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Now, one option here that I think is pretty cool is the outline option. If I click outline, my body changes. So what outline does is it actually lets you create whatever text you've written into an outline format, which is I find very useful, especially if you're looking to having to build an outline with the work you're doing and you haven't done that already. It kind of gives you the opportunity to see almost like a little cheat sheet as to see where you are and how it would look in an outline format. We're going to turn that off by clicking on it again. Now, when we're working in the body of the text, I'm going to also take off I'm going to hide the layout. Down here, up here, we have sections, which I showed you a minute ago. Text boxes, which adds a text box, which you can create anything you like in there. You can add shapes. You can build a table in there if you like to by just clicking on a table. It'll throw a table in there for you. We don't need a table right now, so I'm just going to click on it and I'm going to delete it. Now, a cool thing that this populated for us was to the left in the inspector, right over here. Now, the inspector think of it as your toolbox in terms of working with your document. And what I mean by that is that all your tools, or mostly all your tools, will be found in this toolbox. The document inspector has the page size, the document margins, footnotes and endnotes. Layout inspector shows you your layout, layout margins. It's kind of nice there. Your sections, where you want to be. Wrap text if you have an object inside of the actual document, and then you have your text inspector. Now there's a couple other things there: graphic inspector, metrics inspector, table inspector, which is what populated earlier when I put that table in. Then you have chart inspector, your link inspector if you want to add any hyperlinks to it, or QuickTime to actually add a video. If you have a movie in there, you can adjust it and where it starts and where it stops. Now I implore you to definitely take a look at these different areas and to not be nervous about using these different areas. Just know that this is your toolbox, and it can be found actually over here to the right in the toolbar area with the little blue circle with a white eye in the middle. If you ever wonder what something is and you don't know what it is, just hover your cursor over the icon, like I'm doing now so, and a little yellow bar will populate and tell you what the little icon is there for. Which is a nice little function. So we've already added some text, and actually we lost the text when I added that table. So let's add the text again. Now, over here, below our icons, we have the normal things you find in a document. You have your bullets down here, their numbering options. You have columns, so if you want to add some columns, you can. You also have your spacing, so if you want to have one space, 1.1, double space, it's all right there for you. Then you have your alignment of text, so you have your justified, your right alignment, your center, and then your left. You have your underlined, your italicized, and your bold. This is actually your font color, and this is your background color. So just remember that. I apologize, that was incorrect. This is actually your background color, and this is your font color. Next you have your font size. Very self-explanatory here. Click on it, drop-down menu, you're good to go there. What type of text it is, whether it's regular, light, oblique, bold, you can choose that on your own. And then of course here you have your fonts. Which fonts you like. Apple likes Helvetica. That's their go-to automatic font size, or font type, I would actually rather say. But of course, if you're someone who enjoys having the Times New Roman, I'm going to scoot down here for a second. You'll see you have Times New Roman, you have Arial, so the same fonts you would have in Word, you have in Pages also. And of course, there's some that aren't. So just know that Pages, though being a word processing program, when you convert to Word, you may lose any kind of, I would say, any text any font that normally wouldn't be used in a document, for say academic purposes. You may lose that in translation when you export. So just keep that in mind. It's about 90% export rate on being perfect. So I'm now going to show you how it's kind of the power of Pages. So I actually pulled out a photo out of here from Google Images earlier today. I'm going to just click on this image. I'm going to drag it into the document. Now you're going to see that when I drag it in, there's a green circle with a plus sign in it when I drag it over the document. That just tells you that this is an okay place to drop this image. This is the great thing about Apple, is that Apple computers, they work on a drag and drop system, and I'll show you by just dragging it here and then dropping it by letting go of the mouse. Now you see that when I did this, the image is split there. I also split my text. So what that tells me is that if I were to go to my toolbox or inspector, you'll see here the third option from the left is a wrap inspector. This here lets you choose how the object placement works. So you have inline, you have floating, in the background objects are selectable, and then of course object causes wrap. I like to wrap the object because I find that it kind of just makes it look it just makes it look more like an editorial from like a newspaper, because the image is inside and the text is wrapped around it. And I really enjoy the way that looks. But of course, this is all up to you. It's your document, so you choose how you want to do it by clicking on one of these options here. So because of how little text we have, we're going to put it on the side there for a second. Now I really want to show you the power of Pages. So I'm going to close the inspector window. And closing the windows are really simple. Look for the red circles. Red means stop, yellow means minimize, and green means expand. So think of it as red light, stop, slow down, and go. Kind of like the street light system. Now, the power of Pages I mentioned earlier is pretty cool, and it's actually some of the features that gives you the power is actually hidden in, or not hidden, but in the format area. So make sure your object is highlighted, and the way you know it's highlighted is because you have these size markers around the border of the image or the object you've placed in your document. Now when I go up to format, I'm going to actually look for the term Instant Alpha. Now Instant Alpha is a very cool way to take a background of an object and almost try to destroy it in a sense of getting rid of it, just so you can make sure the center object is your highlight of your document. So click on this. Now the cool thing about Apple is that they always have explanations to what you're doing. So down here you have a little box explaining what it is that you've activated and how to function with it. If you notice, my cursor is still a cursor for typing, but if I go across the object, it's now crosshairs. And let me show you how that works. So I'm going to click on the corner. I'm just going to drag out a little bit. And as I drag out to where I'd like to keep it, now it's not going to be perfect like Photoshop, but it definitely will give you an idea of how it works. I'm going to let go. When I click off of here, you're going to see that the black background is now gone. And I can move my image again, wherever I'd like, around my text, and it doesn't have the black background anymore. So this is great for logos. If you want to have a logo, get a logo with a black background or white background, you want to get rid of it. This is just a nice little option to keep in mind when you're working with pages. Now I'm going to save my document by going to File, Save. I'm going to title it Test. I'm going to hit Save. Oh, already an object exists that way. I'm going to replace it. Now, in a nutshell, this is Pages. You've understood now currently how the layout's laid out. You have the toolbar, the menu bar. You've seen a little bit of how the inspector works, which is the toolbox here. What kind of options you have available to you in this area. And you've seen a little bit of the power of Pages. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to explore Pages. They have a wonderful help menu in the menu bar. So if you have any questions or need any help, just for you to type in what you're looking for, and I'll show you what that means. If I hit Save, if it's a menu item, I can click Save, and actually will give me a little video or an option of how to get there. So it's a great tool to use when you're lost, because we all get lost sometimes. So in a nutshell, that's Pages and the basic level, high-level overview. So have fun with Pages, enjoy yourselves, and also remember that Apple.com has a lot of great resources and a lot of great tutorials. I really enjoyed tonight's discussion, and I hope that you enjoy using Pages going forward. Have a good night.